Hello and welcome to another lesson of Renewable English. Now, before we continue today, I've got to say a couple of thank yous. First, I'm sure you noticed that fancy new jingle just a few moments ago. A huge thank you to my main man, my best friend, and the most talented musician I've ever met in my life, Tommy Francis. Thanks very much, bud. And you may also have noticed a few bits and pieces with the new logo on it. A big thanks to Cian, another great friend, for doing those for us. So thank you very much, guys. I would like to just say a quick thing about what Renewable English is. Well, Renewable English is a supplementary course which aims to raise climate change awareness through every traditional unit in a textbook. So if you're a teacher and you've just finished learning about the home, then you can watch lessons 1 and 2 and maybe send them on to your students at home so they can look around their house and see what they can do to help the environment. If your lesson's all about food, well, the next 2 lessons are going to be very interesting for you. Today, we're going to look at our carbon footprint, and in the next class, we're going to look all about food waste. And sandwiched between those, we've got a very special mini lesson all about bees. So, without further ado, let's get going with today's class, which is, as I said, reducing our carbon footprint. Now remember, if you're a learner or a student and you see this sign, you know what to do, don't you? So let's get cracking. Reducing our carbon footprint. Here are today's objectives. We're going to revise some food words. We're going to learn about our carbon footprint. We're going to check our carbon pawprint. Something we often forget is our animals. What are they doing to the planet? And what can we do to help it? We're going to think about how to reduce our carbon footprint, and then, like with every lesson, we're going to make a planet promise. And as always, there are going to be some top tips coming at you from the good ladies in my family. Let's start by taking a look at some vocabulary for some different foods that we're going to look at today. Let's take a look. Have a look at the 6 pictures and see if you can connect them with the words at the side. If you need a bit more time, remember, you can always press pause. So, let's take a look at the answers. The first picture is, of course, insects. Then we have some chicken. Careful with the pronunciation of that one. Chicken. Then some vegetables. Again, another common pronunciation error with this word in English. Remember, vegetables. Vegetables. Okay? 3 syllables. Next is the fruit. The fruit. Then the meat that we get from cows is beef. And finally, not technically a food, I guess we now more commonly have it as a drink. It is milk. How many of those did you get right? And what other foods can you think of? Why don't you write a quick list? See how many you can come up with in a minute. Now, we're going to have a quick look at some facts about those different types of food. So I'm going to hand you over to my beautiful assistant, and he's going to talk you through some facts about these different foods, and then you're going to answer some true or false questions. So, over to you, beautiful assistant. The CO2 emissions produced to create just 1 kilo of beef can reach up to 34.6 kilos. That's enough for 14 litres of fuel, or enough to get you from London to Cardiff. A great way to reduce your vegetables foodprint is to get yourself a seasonal calendar. Then you can see what's in season in your area and you can buy it. Remember, dirt is good. 1 litre of cow milk uses up to 1,050 litres of water, which is like flushing the toilet 100 times. Is it really worth it? 1 litre of oat milk, on the other hand, only uses 48 litres, which is about 4 poos. Chickens produce around 6.9 kilos of CO2 per 1 kilo of meat, which is about 5 times less than a cow. But we're also going to have a look at insects. They only produce 2 grams per kilo of protein. They also use 10 times less feed and 1,000 times less water. I say let's go get us some insects for dinner. Thanks very much for those interesting, if not somewhat alarming facts. What we're going to do now is look at some statements related to those facts. You need to decide if it's true or false. Statement 1. The CO2 emissions used to produce just 1 kilogram of beef is the same as burning 7 litres of petrol. Seasonal calendars can help us reduce our carbon footprint. 1 litre of milk uses 1,050 litres of water. That's like flushing the toilet more than 100 times for 1 litre of milk. 1 litre of oat milk uses just 48 litres. Well, thanks very much for those interesting, if not somewhat alarming, facts about some of the foods we eat. Let's take a look at some statements. I want you to decide if they're true or false. The CO2 emissions used to produce just 1 kilogram of beef is the same as burning 7 litres of petrol. Seasonal calendars can help us reduce our carbon footprint. 1 litre of milk uses 1,050 litres of water. That's like flushing the toilet more than 100 times. 1 litre of oat milk uses just 48 litres. And the last one, number 5. Chickens produce around 6.9 kilos of CO2 emissions per 1 kilogram of meat. That's 5 times less than a cow. So what do you think? Are they true or are they false? Take a few seconds to decide. If you need longer, just hit the pause button. So let's check this. Number 1 is the CO2 emissions used to produce just 1 kilogram of beef is the same as burning 7 litres of petrol. Let's check. Do we think it's true or false? It's false. 34.6 kilos of CO2 emissions, which is what is produced for just 1 kilo of beef, is the same as over 14 litres of fuel. That could take you over 200 kilometres, or from London to Cardiff. That's a lot for just 1 kilo of meat. For one, would you drive from London to Cardiff for one bolognese? The next one, question 2. Seasonal calendars can help us reduce our carbon footprint. Yes, they can. You can buy what is being grown locally, so it doesn't need to be transported in, so you're saving on the transport effect. So it's good. And remember, as always, dirt is good. Number 3, 1 litre of milk uses 1,050 litres of water. That's like flushing the toilet more than 100 times. That is true. And is it worth it? I just don't think so. 1 litre of oat milk uses 150 litres of water. Now that's false. It's not that much. It's not nearly that much. It's about 48 litres, which is 4, maybe 5 toilet flushes. And finally, chickens produce around 6.9 kilos of CO2 emissions per 1 kilogram of meat. That's 5 times less than a cow. What do you think? It's true. But insects only produce 2 grams of CO2 for every 1 kilogram of protein. They use 10 times less feed and 1,000 times less water. So why aren't we talking about insects as a possible source for protein? Suggesting that we all replace our protein source from beef to insects? I don't know. It's not the worst idea. I mean, I know this guy, he likes insects. Okay, maybe it's a big stretch to think everyone's going to go from a hamburger today to a cricket burger tomorrow. But if we're not going to make the change, why don't we think about some of our furry friends who maybe aren't quite as particular about the food that they eat? I know I've seen my dog eating some very suspicious looking items. So why don't we stop for a minute and think about our carbon pawprint? Now, obviously, it's more than just what we feed our animals that produces the carbon pawprint, but it's really the biggest side of their impact on the planet. So we're going to take a look. Now, I've looked at a lot of different brands and so on for insect-based food. The best one I came across was Eura. I'm going to go to their site in a minute. We're going to see a little thing we can practice on there. And I'm waiting for my first bag to arrive to see how the dog enjoys it. I'm absolutely certain she's going to be blown away. So let's look a bit closer at our carbon pawprint. You can see immediately from this graph the difference in resources we need for 10 kilos of protein for these different animals. Now, the food we usually buy, the dog food we usually buy, tends to be chicken-based, but there are also some beef-based options. You can see the amount of land area, the emissions, and the water usage for beef-based food is really ridiculous. So, first step that we have to take is let's stop buying beef-based food for our pets. So now I want to look a little more closely at my family's carbon paw print. So I found a great calculator here on the Euro website. You can see in the picture there my daughter Alethea, who you'll recognize from the videos, and my beautiful dog Estrella, which means star in Spanish. She's quite a big dog. She's a Labrador crossed with a Mastiff, so she's a big dog, so she likes to eat. Now, what we're going to do is go to the Euro website and we're going to assess our carbon paw print. So as I said, she's a large dog, more than 25 kilos. In fact, she weighs 37 kilos. So let's think about that when we're making our conversions. So she's a large dog. Let's select the brand of food. We normally buy chicken, but for this, I'm going to do it with beef. So we can see in my pet's lifetime, in Estrella's lifetime, it would be 117,942 kilos of carbon dioxide used in our pet's lifetime. If using Euro with insect grubs, there would be a saving of 112.1 tons of CO2. So quite a huge difference there. We'd only be using 5,000 kilograms. So that's a saving of 112,000 kilograms. 112,000 kilograms saved. Now, they're just big numbers, aren't they? Let's have a look what that could mean. So, what does it look like? It saves the equivalent of 277,598 miles in a car. Miles, not kilometers. So it's even further. That's the same as going around the equator 11 times. We saved 452,595 air miles. That's the equivalent of taking 640 flights from London to Barcelona. And finally, that would save enough CO2 to heat the average UK home for 48.6 years. Absolutely mind-blowing, considering my parents lived in the house I grew up in for 30 years, and we had to wear a lot of jumpers. Let's see what we learnt from that carbon paw printing. It's time for some questions. Question number 1. How many times could I go from London to Barcelona with the CO2 produced from Estrella's carbon paw print? What do you think? Hit the pause button if you need some more time. How many times could we drive around the equator? Do you remember? I'm not sure. And how many years could we heat a typical UK household? Now remember, it can get really cold in the UK. I think we're ready for some answers. So let's check it out. Number 1, how many times could I go from London to Barcelona? Ready? The answer? A whopping 640 times. How many times could I drive around the equator? 11 times, the whole way around the Earth. It's ridiculous. And how many years could we heat a typical UK household? Now remember, it gets really cold in England. 48.6 years. That's nearly 50 years. It's crazy. Why don't you have a look at your carbon paw print? Just go to the Yora website and figure out what your carbon paw print is and see what you can do. Now it's time to take our attention away from our pets and focus more on ourselves. I've got an interview now that we're going to watch with executive chef Bob Waters. He is a relation, and he's going to talk a little bit about veganism and lifestyle choices, and also his work as a chef. But before we watch the video, let's check some of the vocabulary that might come up. It might be a bit trickier. So have a look at these pictures. Which one is a crowd pleaser? Which one is a seafront? Which one is to batch or bulk cook? And which ones are veggies? Remember, if you need to, you can press pause. We've got the answers here. So you can see the first one is to batch or bulk cook. That's when you cook a lot, so you have enough for multiple meals. The seafront is the part of the town that directly faces the sea, also sometimes the seaside as well. They are, of course, veggies. It's another word for vegetables. So if you struggle with that pronunciation, as we talked about earlier, why not just say veggies? And a crowd pleaser is one such as a performer or product that is notably or reliably popular or appealing. So something that everybody loves is a crowd pleaser. So if you're ready to listen and watch, let's go over and see what Bob has to say for himself. Hello and welcome to our second interview. Today we are speaking to an executive chef who lives in Australia. He's also a vegan. He's also my brother. His name is Bob Waters. Hi there, Bob.
Hi, Harry. How are you going?
I'm very well, thanks. So I'm going to ask you a few questions. Is that okay?
Of course it is.
Fantastic. So the first question, what was it that made you decide to go vegan?
Working in kitchens, and I had access to very good meat, very good fish, so to speak. Not good for the animals, but you know, in terms of flavour quality and what people would consider good quality. So I ate huge amounts of it, and there came a point when I was like, I shouldn't be eating this much. So I decided to go vegan for a month, and subsequently, well, during that month, I felt fantastic. I really did.
So what's your favorite vegan dish? First to eat and second to cook.
I mean, it could be anything from hot chips on the Welsh seafront with my mum and dad. You know, it could be I don't know, olives sat in the south of Italy. You know, it could be, you know, a hot bowl of pumpkin soup on a cold day. So to say that I have one favorite dish, that's going to change on a day-to-day, mood-to-mood basis. And then to cook, I don't know, like a crowd favorite or a crowd pleaser is a papaya salad, and it's not cooked, but a lot of particularly the Southeast Asian flavors, they work really well with not cooking with animal products.
So I've got the next question is, do you have any tips for people who might want to reduce their consumption of animal products?
Tips. Well, there's three There's three real core reasons, I suppose, why I think that people should reduce the amount of animal products that they eat.
And those three reasons are, number one, you said was
well,
health.
For your health.
Good. Number two?
For the planet.
And number three?
For the animals.
Fantastic.
Yeah, from an ethical standpoint. Some tips: prepping and batch cooking and bulk cooking. So, or peel up and roast up a whole load of veggies, and you can then reheat them, or you can eat them as a salad or whatever.
Anyway, okay. I know you've got to go. You've got work to do. I know I've got to go. Yep. I've got dinner to eat. Tonight I'm having pumpkin soup. So something you mentioned before. It's cruelty-free. So I want to say a big thank you for everything you've done there, Bob. And I will speak to you very soon.
Thanks very much, mate. It's good to see you. Send my love to Olivia and Emma.
Will do. If you want to see the full interview, click over to our YouTube page. We uploaded it a few days ago. It's really worth watching. It's about an hour long and it's very informative. And now, time for some questions. Where does Bob live? Does he live in Australia, in Belgium, or Cambodia? What made him decide to go vegan? He took a month off animal products and felt great. He hates leather shoes. He saw the damage that had been done to the environment. Question 3. What's his favorite vegan dish to make for other people? Is it chips on the seafront, hot pumpkin soup, or papaya salad? And question 4, what are the 3 reasons Bob gives to go vegan? What are his 3 reasons to stop eating animal products? I'll give you a second to get those down. I didn't add the pause button above, I'm afraid. And when you're ready, I'll give you the answers. He does live, you are correct, in Australia. He talks a bit in the full interview about the huge problems they had due to climate change recently. This time last year, so January last year, they obviously had a lot of bushfires, and it came very close to where my brother was living. They were put on evacuation mode. So it's something that's really close to my brother's heart. What made him decide to go vegan? There were a lot of different reasons. The one we used in the video was he took a month off animal products and it felt great. So that was one of his big steps towards going vegan. His favorite vegan dish to make for other people is papaya salad. He made one here once, I seem to remember. And his 3 reasons: your health, the planet, and the animals. In the full interview, he gives lots of reading and documentary advice on if you're thinking about reducing your carbon footprint. A lot of them are really worth watching. I'll put the links in the box below.
What can I do?
Now it's time, as we do every week, to have a little project. What is it this week? As always, it's what can I do? What can I do? I'd like you to make a video what you can do at home to reduce your carbon footprint. You can think about the season, you can think about where things are grown, and you can think about what you can do to reduce your consumption of animal products. Now, don't forget to write a script. I'm going to hand over to these 2 beautiful ladies so they can give you their tips.
Hi, I'm Annie, and this and mine and my mummy's top tips to reduce your food's footprint. Make sure your fruit bowls are on display. And if you're hungry, why not have a snack? An apple.
Buy your veg as locally as possible. Remember, dirt is good. One really good thing that you could do is roast a whole bunch of veg. It can last up to 5 days in the fridge and you can make lots and lots of recipes from it during the week. And don't forget to use up as much of the veg as possible. An idea to use up the roast veg that you've previously cooked is to grab some sesame oil and toast a bunch of cashews, possibly a little bit more than that. And then grab the roast veg, chuck it all in a pan, heat it up a little bit, put some oyster sauce in, and you've got a quick, easy, healthy, delicious meal in 5 minutes. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.
Those two are so awesome. So great. Thank you so much, ladies. So there's not much left of today's class. As we do every class, I'm going to make a planet promise. I, Harry Waters, promise to reduce my consumption of animal products by at least 50%. That means everything. So we're talking chocolate, we're talking fried egg sandwiches, we're talking everything. Slash it in half. Before we say goodbye, I'd like to just run over the class objectives one more time. We wanted to revise food words. We did that. We wanted to learn about our carbon footprint. I have. I hope you have too. We wanted to check our carbon pawprint. I think you should do that after this class if you've got a pet. We had to think about how to reduce our carbon footprint, and we had to make a planet promise. So they're our ideas for today. All that's left for me is to say thanks for watching. Have a look below, follow us, email us, do whatever you please. We're all ears and we're all eyes. Thanks very much for being with us today. I'll see you later.